Zampala and welcome to her story. Our guest for today is Yeshi Choden. She's the first female space engineer who is currently working with Ministry of Information and Communication. Welcome to the show and thank you so much for taking out your time to talk to us. So let's start off by talking about where you were born and tell us something about your family.
So first of all, thank you very much for having me on this show. It is a great privilege and an honor to be here. And thank you very much for the introduction. Currently, I'm working with the Ministry of Information and Communications, and I'm from Thimphu. I was born and brought up in Thimphu, but I spent a couple of years of my early childhood in Paro as well. So I was mostly born and brought up here only.
And what about your parents, love? What about your siblings, if you can tell us something about that?
Both my parents are from Thimphu, and I have two younger siblings. Both of them are sisters.
So three girls in the
family.
Three
girls.
Yes, and what about your early education?
So as I said earlier, I spent around 6 years in Paro, where I studied at Wuchu Lower Secondary School. And for my 6th grade, I moved to Thimphu and I studied at Babisa School. Thereafter, I went to Lungten Sampa for my middle education, and then I went to Yanchipula, from where I completed my high school.
Okay, and then you went on becoming a civil engineer first before you went into space engineering. So please tell us something about that. Where did you get your training for your civil engineering?
Yes. So after my high school, I was lucky enough and blessed to be a recipient of His Majesty's King's Scholarship, because of which I went to study at the National University of Singapore in Singapore, and there I was given the choice to choose any field of study. So I chose civil engineering because I was mostly interested in technology and the engineering side of studies.
And then how did the space engineering happen? How was the whole journey?
So after I graduated from undergrad, I came back to Bhutan and I wanted to become a part of the civil service. So I sat for the Royal Civil Service examinations in 2015, and I was selected to be part of the Ministry of Health's Public Health Engineering Division, and I was working there for the Rural Sanitation and Hygiene Program, whereby we used to go to the remote places in Tashiangzi, Tashigang, Wangdi to look after rural sanitation. So while I was working there, actually it was one of those days where I was traveling on tour to one of the remote places in Chukha, and after that I was coming back tired from my journey, and I was in a taxi getting back home. So I just checked my phone and I saw that there was an announcement for this scholarship for space engineering floated by the Royal Civil Service Commission. So as soon as I saw that, it caught my attention, and without a second thought, I decided to gather all my documents and apply for it the next day.
Yes, and how was the selection process?
When we look at the number of people who were shortlisted, there were about 15 of us who were shortlisted, and after that we were called for an interview, and the selection criteria was 60% for academics and the rest 40% for interview and the Viva interview and other credentials like your co-curricular activities and special achievements. So after getting selected through the scholarship, which is funded by the Royal Government of Bhutan, me and two of my colleagues, we went to the Kyushu Institute of Technology in Japan to pursue a course called Masters in Space Engineering. But as part of this course, we were also participating in a project called BIRDS 2 project, which is basically a project to develop small cube satellites.
Is it Bhutan 1?
Yes.
Yes.
So through this project, in 2018, we were able to successfully develop and launch our country's first satellite, which is called Bhutan 1.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the benefits of Bhutan 1? I know it rotates around the country like 3-4 times in a day.
Yes.
So.
The space initiative for Bhutan is entirely a vision and a passion of His Majesty the King. So we are very lucky enough to be part of this project and to be able to take His Majesty's vision forward. So basically, the whole project started as a capacity development initiative, because in Bhutan we don't have space technology yet, and we don't have people who know about space technology and sciences. So His Majesty's vision is to make our people able enough that we can pursue space science and technology and use that for the benefit of the entire country, because space can be applied to many sectors in the country, like agriculture, weather, education, health. In all different aspects of life, we can use space technology to make our lives better. So because of that, we started this project. So for the first project, we don't have any operational services offered from the satellite, but we mainly focus on the entire process of the satellite development, and we also have a couple of scientific experiments to gain some experience on how to carry out these experiments using satellites, and how we can continue to develop better satellites in the future.
Yes, and while doing the course, was it difficult? Because I know you were the first female representing Bhutan,
Yes.
and your other colleagues were male. So how difficult was the course, or was it something totally different from what you've learned? Because you come from a civil engineering background.
Yes.
Was it completely different?
Yes and no, because yes, because it was completely different, because it's a whole new field of study for the entire Bhutanese population. So you wouldn't have anyone to go to and ask for advice or suggestions in technical terms. So we would have to do our own research, do our own homework, and try to gather the facts together. And no, because I had a little bit of engineering background before, so it was kind of like adding on to my engineering background. So I did basic engineering with civil engineering, so you study across all different fields of engineering. So when I focused on space engineering for my master's degree, it was an addition to what I had already learned. But of course, I learned a lot of new things through this course.
Yes. And what do you think are some qualities, like especially for viewers, who want to pursue their career in satellite engineering? What do you think are some qualities that they need to have, or some certain interests that they need to have?
So, first of all, I think the quality that I would think is the most important would be to have a passion for asking questions and being curious. Because when we talk about space, we are questioning our own existence, the beginning of this universe, how the laws of nature function, how many galaxies are there out there. So you have to have an inquisitive mind to be able to have a career in space. And other than that, I think you just have to be interested in sciences and mathematics and the physics, because everything that's out there is functioning according to the laws of physics. So that would be a plus point.
And is there anything interesting you remember while doing the course? Like any interesting stories or any interesting events?
So the whole journey itself was very exciting for me personally, because first of all, it was one of its kind, and the very first one for the whole of Bhutan. So it was a very new experience, and I, being a very adventurous person, for me that really gave me a lot of energy and a lot of food for thought per se. And through the while doing this project, we were going through a lot of new experiences, so it was in general very interesting. But one of the most memorable moments or times from this project would be that one time when we were ready to send off our satellite to the launcher. So we were working on that small satellite for a couple of months or a year by that time. So when we were ready to send this off to the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency to be launched, it was a bittersweet kind of feeling.
Wow.
Because we were really proud that we could develop something like that out of scratch, but we were also very anxious whether, how it will function in space, whether it will be able to launch successfully. And we were also very emotional because we were sending off something, and by the nature of our satellite, it is not going to come back into Earth anymore. So we had to say our final goodbyes then. So that was the most memorable.
And tell us something about the launch.
So the launch was basically done from the US in Florida, and the launch vehicle that we used was one of SpaceX's rockets called Falcon 9, and it was launched on 29th June of 2018.
At the same time, you also interned in Vienna.
Yes.
So how was the experience?
So the internship in Vienna, which was at the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, it's shortly called UNOSA. It was a personal passion of mine, because when I first went to Kyushu Institute of Technology, being the first few people from Bhutan entering into the space industry, there were a lot of things that we did not know, and a lot of questions came to my mind. And one of the most fundamental questions that always stuck with me is, how can we make our space program sustainable, something that we can do for a really long time, something that we can keep on developing year after year. Because in most of the countries where space programs have started, it has receded after the first project, or there hasn't been so much activities going on after that. So it was a fundamental question that really occupied my mind. So in trying to find answers to that, I met Professor Dr. Werner Bollock, who was working at UNOSA then. He came as a visiting professor to my university. So my supervisor, he told me, when I asked him all these questions, like, who are the players in space, what's going on in space right now, what should we do to make space sustainable in Bhutan and all, he told me, you should ask this person who's coming to visit us. And then, rightly so, I asked him, and he gave me a lot of information about the space industry at an international level, at a global scale. So as much as I wanted to be a technical person, knowing about all the subsystems inside the satellite, I also felt that as the first few people in this field, we need to have a holistic idea of the space industry, not just from the engineering point of view. So because of that, I wanted to expand my knowledge about the space industry. And then I approached a lot of people at the United Nations Office for Outer Space Affairs, and I told them genuinely how much interested I am in learning about space activities and at an international level. And they were very supportive, especially my supervisor, Mr. Jorge, and his boss, Mr. Luke. they were very supportive, and I was very lucky enough to get through all the very competitive the selection process, and I was finally granted an internship. However, all UN internships are unpaid, so I paid for it myself because I felt that it was an investment worth it. And then I spent about 3.5 months in Vienna. And during that time, I specifically worked on looking at Bhutan and our development goals from a space point of view. And in particular, I tried to analyze our current 12th five-year plan from a space filter. So, for example, in the Ministry of Agriculture, they have key performance indicators, like they want to measure the volume of rice produced this year, or the volume of maize crops produced. So, through my study, I found out that even in the 12th five-year plan, there are almost around 63 key performance indicators that can be enhanced with the use of space science and technology. So Bhutan has a lot of potential for space applications.
You said you were paying for your internship in Vienna. So who was supporting you? Was it yourself? Was it your parents? Or
I just made this logical calculation in my mind, saying that whether I stay in Japan or in Vienna, I'm still getting paid a monthly stipend from the royal government of Bhutan. So I thought I will use that, and I don't need any additional funds to support myself in Vienna. So I used my stipend from the scholarship to fund for my stay.
And what about your family? Were they very supportive through all your
endeavors? Yes. In fact, I would like to take this opportunity to thank all my relatives, especially my grandfather and grandmother, for being really supportive and encouraging since I was born. Because I used to spend a lot of time with them even when I was a child, and they are the two people who have instilled in me all the values that I have, instilled in me all the little knowledge that I have right now, and more so, they have instilled in me the confidence and the belief that I can do something for the country. So my grandfather always tells me that even if you can't do anything for yourself, you should at least do something for the king, country and people.
Yes. After your internship, so what was your plan next?
So after the internship, my internship was still part of my master's program, because in my master's course, if we do internships, then we can earn a few credits which goes to the master's degree. So I did that for 3.5 months, and then I went back to my master's course in Japan, and I completed my master's degree in March 2019. So then after that I came back to Bhutan.
And then you straight away joined the Division of Telecom and Space?
Yes, because before going to Japan, we were already transferred to that division right after we were selected for the scholarship. So right after we completed our studies, we were also back again.
All three of you work together right now?
Yes, all three of us.
And what are some of the future projects that you all have there, other than the one,
So we have a lot of exciting projects on the way, and because we developed a very small satellite in the beginning, which was mainly focused on capacity development and gaining experience about satellite development. Now our future is to develop bigger satellites which can do more and offer operational services to the entire country.
While you were pursuing a career in satellite engineering, were you married? Are you married?
Yes. So previously I was dating my husband, and right after I got selected for the scholarship, I went to Japan, and after a few months he joined me in Japan as well, because he also got another scholarship to pursue his master's degree, and both of us, we were back to being students again.
Oh, wow, a whole new experience
Yes.
altogether again. When you travel and all that, are there children asking you questions? Or because they must be very curious.
Yes.
So did you have any?
I didn't meet anyone asking me personally, but I got a couple of questions on Facebook through Messenger. So there were some students from different parts of the country, and basically they were really curious and interested in learning more about what we were doing, and especially about our first satellite, Bhutan 1. So they were asking questions like, what does this satellite do? What is it used for? And how was your experience while you were doing this project? And also, I received a couple of questions.
Yes. I read online that it was not a really big satellite. It was kind of small. So how long did you all take to work on that satellite?
So the satellite by size itself is a 10 centimeter cube, so it's called a CubeSat, and there's a standard for that in the international community. But because it's very small, so sometimes we joke and we say it's the CuteSat. But basically, although it was a very small one, we took about almost a year plus to develop that, because we had to build it from scratch, design it, and decide what kind of missions it will have. And even when you send a satellite to space, the space environment is quite different from what the environment here on Earth. So up there, it's extremely hot or extremely cold very frequently, and it's vacuum, and the satellite has to survive all these extreme conditions. And also the satellite, although it's a very small one, has to survive the launch, because the launch, being in a rocket, there's a lot of vibrations and a lot of velocity. So the satellite has to go through all these tests, and because of that, we took almost a year plus. I think I would just like to clarify here that the first satellite, although we got a lot of enthusiasm and excitement from the whole country, we got a lot of likes and comments on Facebook, everyone congratulating us. So I'd like to thank everyone for being so supportive and being so encouraging. This gives us more motivation to do better in the future. But I would also like to clarify here that the first satellite itself was not designed for any operational service. Maybe some may have misunderstood, thinking that our satellite is going to provide weather services or going to observe the glacial lakes or something, but the first satellite was just for capacity development and to give us a feel of what it's like to enter in the space industry. But nevertheless, the first satellite has also done a lot for us, in the sense that it has literally changed Bhutan from a non-spacefaring country to an emerging space nation. So now we can proudly say that we also have a satellite, and we are also a spacefaring nation.
And can we expect any more satellite from the division of telecom?
Yes, definitely. So we are always looking forward to that, and we will do the necessary research and consultation with relevant stakeholders. And sooner or later, we will be looking forward to the development of bigger satellites which can offer operational services to the country.
So, I know you're married, so do you plan on starting a family soon?
Currently, so just to make myself clear, I am 25 and will be turning 26 this year. So I still have, from the biological clock point of view, I still have a couple of years more to serve. So my first priority is my service, and that's also a shared perspective from my husband, because he says that the country has invested so much in making us who we are right now, and especially His Majesty the King for bestowing so much love, care and affection towards me personally. So because of that, my first priority right now is my career, and I'm very lucky to have a husband who also encourages me in this line. Yes. The whole space initiative, as I've said earlier, is a vision of His Majesty the King. So because of which, because previously I never thought that we would have space activities in Bhutan. If you go and tell someone, it would almost sound like a joke. But because of the support and love that we have received from His Majesty the King, we are able to do things which we never thought we would be able to do. So I would like to, with due respect, thank His Majesty for being so supportive and always there for the young people, and because of which we get this confidence and this motivation, thinking that even if we do dream, our dreams do come true because of our King.
Yes. And any final word from you for our viewers, especially the young minds who are watching the show who wants to follow your footsteps?
I don't have any particular words to share, but basically I would like to just encourage everyone to follow your dreams and to be really passionate about something, and just to give direction. Technology is the way forward, so if you are interested in technology, please do continue to pursue it, and the future is really bright in that direction.
Yes, thank you so much for taking out your time and talking to us.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you very much for our viewers for watching this program. But just before we wind up, let's go to our favorites.
My favorite color is blue. My favorite movie is Se Zamkang, Pot of Gold. I don't have a favorite song per se, but usually I listen to Dzongkha songs, especially by the young Bhutanese singers like Misty Terrace, Crowners, O Stranger. I usually tend to like spicy food, so Bhutanese cuisine and also other cuisine, but generally I'm very open with different kinds of food, so everywhere I go I make it a point that I try to eat the local food from that place.
Do you know?
I don't have a particular one, but the books that have stayed with me are the books from my childhood, especially the series by Roald Dahl, because they really expanded the horizon of my imagination. Would you rather find your true love or a suitcase with $5 million inside? I think I would go for true love, because nothing can be traded for love. Would you rather never lose your phone again or never lose your keys again? I think my phone, because that's where I do most of my work. Would you rather know the uncomfortable truth of the world or believe a comforting lie? The uncomfortable truth.
Why?
It's good to know the truth, I guess. Quiet but strong, I guess. Collecting Dzongkha petams. So even I have a page on Instagram called Dzongkha Petams.